The champagne flute trembled in Sabrina's manicured hand as she raised it high above the crowd at the Portland Country Club. Her emerald dress caught the chandelier light, making her look like some ethereal goddess descended from heaven to grace us mere mortals with her presence. "I have to confess something," she announced, her voice carrying that practiced PR executive tone that could sell ice to Eskimos. The room fell silent, all eyes on my beautiful fiancé. "I'm marrying Eli for the money, obviously." The crowd erupted in laughter. Her parents, the Whitmore family old money elite, chuckled politely behind their martini glasses. My buddy Marty slapped my back so hard I nearly choked on my beer. Even stuffy Mrs. Ellis from next door was giggling like a schoolgirl. I smiled too, because that's what you do when your beloved makes a joke at your expense in front of 50 people. But something cold settled in my stomach like a stone dropping into still water. "Good thing we signed that prenup this morning, right?" I said, matching her theatrical tone with my own deadpan delivery. The laughter died instantly. Sabrina's face went from rosy pink to ash white in the span of a heartbeat. Her parents' expressions shifted from amused to horrified, as if I'd just announced I was running off to join the circus. You're joking, right?" Sabrina's voice cracked slightly. "Am I?" I shrugged, taking a long sip of my beer while maintaining eye contact. The silence stretched like taffy until Janelle Foster, Sabrina's best friend and social media influencer extraordinaire, started filming with her phone. "Oh my God, this is going viral," she whispered, but not quietly enough. That's when I noticed him. Brady Collins, the personal trainer Sabrina had been working with for the past 6 months, standing in the corner looking like he'd swallowed his protein shake the wrong way. The glance he shared with Sabrina lasted exactly 2 seconds too long. My gut churned with a familiar sensation, the same feeling I'd had in the boxing ring when I sensed my opponent was about to throw a sucker punch. If only they knew the joke was really on me. The next morning, I woke up to an empty bed and the sound of Sabrina's heels clicking against our hardwood floors downstairs. Our house, a 4-bedroom colonial I'd bought with the money from selling my construction business, felt different somehow, like someone had moved all the furniture 3 inches to the left while I slept. "Morning, sweetheart," I called out, padding down to the kitchen in my boxers and t-shirt. Sabrina stood at the granite counter, perfectly dressed in a navy blazer and pencil skirt, scrolling through her phone with the intensity of a day trader watching the market crash. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" she hissed without looking up. "Jan's TikTok has 12,000 views already. Everyone thinks you're some insecure control freak who doesn't trust his own fiancé." I poured myself coffee from our expensive espresso machine, another one of Sabrina's essential purchases. Maybe I shouldn't trust my own fiancé. She finally looked at me then, her blue eyes flashing with something between anger and panic. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, babe. Just making conversation." I sat down at our kitchen island, noting how she clutched her phone like a lifeline. "By the way, whose water bottle is that in the garage?" "The one next to the gym bag that definitely isn't mine." Sabrina's coffee mug slipped from her fingers, shattering against the tile floor in an explosion of ceramic and dark liquid. That's probably from one of my workout sessions. Brady sometimes comes here for private training when the gym is too crowded." "Brady comes here?" I kept my voice level, conversational. "To our house? For private sessions?" "Yes, Eli." "Is that a problem?" Her voice took on that defensive edge I'd been hearing more and more lately. "Not at all. I'm just surprised you never mentioned it." I stood up, stepping carefully around the broken mug. "I'll clean this up. You don't want to be late for work." After she left, I spent 20 minutes reviewing our home security footage on my laptop. 3 months of recordings, and wouldn't you know it, several chunks of time were mysteriously deleted. Always on weekdays. Always between 2 and 4 p.m., when I was usually at the office managing my investment portfolio. If only sweat stains could tell stories, I thought, examining Brady's gym bag more closely. But sometimes they don't need to. Sometimes a size-large condom wrapper wedged between the towels tells the story just fine. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Ellis next door. "Eli, dear, I hope you don't mind me asking, but who's the young man with the red Mustang? He's been visiting quite regularly when you're not home." I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "Just a trainer. Thanks for keeping an eye on things." Her response came immediately. "Of course, dear. We neighbors have to look out for each other." That afternoon, I made a decision that would change everything. I drove to Radio Shack. Yes, they still exist, and bought the smallest digital recorder I could find. Then I called my old friend Marty, the one cop I trusted completely. "I need some advice," I told him over beers at the Red Harbor, our usual dive bar downtown. "Legal advice or friendly advice?" Marty asked, his weathered face serious. "Both. Legal advice, don't break any laws. Friendly advice, sometimes people need to learn lessons the hard way." He took a long pull from his Budweiser. "What's going on, Eli?" I told him everything. The deleted security footage, Brady's belongings in my garage, the mysterious red Mustang, Sabrina's increasingly frequent late meetings, and girls' nights out. Marty listened without interruption, occasionally nodding like a priest hearing, "Confession. You got proof?" he asked finally. "Working on it. Don't do anything stupid. But if someone's playing games with you, make sure you're better at the game than they are." That night, while Sabrina was at another emergency client meeting, I found her iPad charging in our bedroom. She'd never bothered to change the passcode, our anniversary date, how romantic. The text messages I found made my blood run cold, but not for the reasons you might think. I wasn't heartbroken or devastated. I was furious. Absolutely, coldly furious. Because it wasn't just Brady she was texting. It was Janelle, too. Sabrina to Brady, 2:15 p.m. "He's getting suspicious. We need to be more careful." Brady to Sabrina, 2:17 p.m. "Maybe we should cool it for a while." Sabrina to Brady, 2:18 p.m. "No way. I'm not giving up the best sex of my life because my fiancé is paranoid." Janelle to Sabrina, 3:45 p.m. "Posted the prenup video. Comments are brutal. Everyone thinks he's controlling." Sabrina to Janelle, 3:47 p.m. "Perfect. Keep pushing that narrative. I need public sympathy for the divorce." Janelle to Sabrina, 3:48 p.m. "What about Brady?" Sabrina to Janelle, 3:50 p.m. "What about him? He's fun, but he's not husband material. I need someone with real money." I screenshot everything, emailed the images to myself, then deleted the evidence of my snooping. My hands were surprisingly steady. The joke was definitely on me, but the punchline was going to be all mine. 3 days later, I put my plan into motion. It started with a phone call to Brady's gym. "Hi, this is Eli Grant. I'm Sabrina Whitmore's fiancé. I wanted to surprise her with a couples training session. Could you tell me when Brady usually works with her?" The receptionist was helpful. Too helpful. "Oh, Mr. Collins doesn't train clients here on Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. He does house calls those days." House calls? Yes, he has several clients who prefer private sessions at their homes. Very exclusive service. I thanked her and hung up, my suspicions confirmed. Brady was running a side business, and my house was apparently his favorite location. That Tuesday, I called in sick to my investment meetings and parked 3 blocks away from my own home. At 1:47 p.m., a red Mustang pulled into my driveway. I waited exactly 2 hours, then drove home. The front door was locked, but I could hear music playing upstairs, something with a heavy bass line that definitely wasn't Sabrina's usual classical playlist. I used my key quietly, then crept up the stairs like a burglar in my own house. The bedroom door was closed, but the sounds coming from inside left no doubt about what kind of training was happening. I didn't burst in. I didn't scream or throw punches or make a scene. Instead, I went back downstairs, made myself a sandwich, and waited. 20 minutes later, Brady came down first, gym bag slung over his shoulder, looking like he'd just finished the workout of his life. He froze when he saw me sitting at the kitchen table, calmly eating my lunch. "Oh, hey man, didn't know you were home." Clearly. I took another bite of my sandwich. "Good session?" "Yeah, Sabrina's really dedicated to her fitness goals." "I bet she is." I stood up slowly, all 6 feet 2 inches of my former amateur boxing frame. Brady was built, sure, but he was also 5 inches shorter and clearly not expecting confrontation. "Brady, right?" "Right." His voice cracked slightly. "Brady, I want you to listen very carefully. You're going to leave my house now. You're going to get in your little red car and drive away, and you're never going to come back, understand?" He nodded quickly, backing toward the door. "Oh, and Brady, next time you want to play house with someone's wife, make sure her husband isn't a former Golden Gloves boxer who knows exactly how to hurt someone without leaving marks." Brady practically ran to his car. Sabrina came downstairs 10 minutes later, looking flushed and slightly disheveled, despite her obvious attempt to compose herself. "Honey, you're home early. I was just finishing up my workout." "I know exactly what you were finishing up." I remained seated, keeping my voice calm. "We need to talk." "About what?" I pulled out my phone and showed her one of the screenshots I'd taken from her iPad. Her face went through several interesting color changes. "Eli, I can explain." "No need. I understand perfectly." I stood up and walked past her toward the stairs. "I'm going to pack some things. I'll be staying at a hotel for a few days while I figure out my next move." "Wait, please. It's not what you think." I turned back to her, and for the first time since this whole mess started, I smiled. Really smiled. "Sabrina, sweetheart, it's exactly what I think. The only question now is whether you want to end this quietly or if you want me to make it public." Her eyes narrowed. "You wouldn't dare. Try me." That night, from my hotel room, I called Janelle Foster directly. "Eli? Why are you calling me?" "I have a proposition for you, Jan. You like creating viral content, right?" "What kind of proposition? The kind that could get you 1 million views and destroy 3 lives, or the kind that could get you sued into bankruptcy? Your choice." There was a long pause. "I'm listening." "Meet me tomorrow at the Red Harbor. Come alone. And Jan, bring your phone. You're going to want to record this conversation." The next evening, Janelle showed up at the bar wearing designer jeans and a nervous expression. She'd brought her phone, as requested, and set it on the table between us. "Before we start," I said, "I want you to know I'm recording this too. For legal protection." She nodded, her influencer confidence noticeably shaken. "Here's what's going to happen," I continued. "You're going to tell me everything. Every lie you've helped Sabrina tell, every bit of evidence you've helped her hide, every plan you two have cooked up together. In return, I won't sue you for conspiracy and defamation. You can't prove anything." I pulled out my own phone and played one of her text conversations with Sabrina. Her face went pale as she heard her own words read back to her in a robotic voice. "Actually, I can prove everything. The question is whether you want to be collateral damage or whether you want to save yourself." Janelle stared at her phone for a long moment, then looked back at me. "What do you want to know?" "Everything." And she told me everything. How she'd been documenting Sabrina's affairs for months, not out of friendship, but for content. How she'd encouraged Sabrina to be more reckless, more dramatic, because it made better stories for her social media. How she'd helped cover for multiple affairs, not just Brady. "There were others?" I asked. 3 others. Over the past year, she gets bored easily. "And you documented all of this?" Janelle nodded miserably. "I have videos, photos, screenshots. I was going to use them for a series about infidelity and social media. I never thought—" "You never thought you'd get caught. I never thought you'd fight back." I leaned back in my chair, processing this information. Sabrina wasn't just cheating. She was performing her cheating for an audience, with Janelle as both enabler and documentarian. "Here's what's going to happen," I said finally. "You're going to give me copies of everything. Every photo, every video, every screenshot. Then you're going to disappear from Sabrina's life completely. And if I don't, then I release the recording of this conversation, along with all the evidence I already have, and let the internet decide who the real villain is." Janelle's hands shook as she transferred files to a USB drive. When she was finished, she looked up at me with something like respect in her eyes. "She really underestimated you, didn't she?" "Everyone did. That was their first mistake." The final phase of my plan began the following Saturday, at the Portland Country Club's annual charity gala. The same venue where this whole mess had started, where Sabrina had made her joke about marrying me for money. How poetic. I arrived alone, wearing my best suit and carrying a small gift bag. Sabrina was already there, working the room like the PR professional she was, telling anyone who would listen about her difficult fiancé and his trust issues. I watched her performance for 20 minutes, noting how she played the victim with Oscar-worthy skill. Poor Sabrina, engaged to a controlling man who didn't appreciate her free spirit. Poor Sabrina, trapped by a prenup she'd never actually signed. That's when I made my move. The country club's sound system was controlled by a simple laptop connected to wireless speakers throughout the building. During the cocktail hour, while everyone was mingling and the DJ was taking a break, I approached the sound booth. "Excuse me," I said to the young technician monitoring the equipment. "I'm Eli Grant, one of the event sponsors. I'd like to make a brief announcement." He handed me the microphone without question. "Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention for just a moment." The room gradually quieted, all eyes turning toward me. Sabrina looked confused but pleased, probably thinking I was about to make some romantic gesture. 3 weeks ago, at our engagement party, my fiancé made a joke about marrying me for my money. Everyone laughed, including me. Tonight, I'd like to share the punchline. I pressed play on my phone, which was connected to the sound system via Bluetooth. Janelle's voice filled the room, crystal clear and unmistakably recognizable to everyone who followed her social media. She gets bored easily. There were 3 others over the past year. I was documenting it all for content. The recording played for exactly 90 seconds, long enough to destroy 3 reputations, short enough to avoid being cut off. The silence that followed was deafening. Sabrina stood frozen in the center of the room, her champagne flute trembling in her hand just like it had 3 weeks earlier. But this time, no one was laughing. Brady, who had apparently crashed the party hoping to win Sabrina back, pushed through the crowd toward the exit. But I was ready for him. "Leaving so soon, Brady?" I called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. "I thought you enjoyed parties. Especially the private kind." He turned to face me, his face red with humiliation and anger. "You son of a—" "Careful," I interrupted, stepping closer. "There are ladies present." And cameras. Indeed, half the room was now filming with their phones. This was going to be all over social media within the hour. Brady took a swing at me. I'd been hoping he would. I ducked easily, amateur boxing reflexes die hard, and Brady's momentum carried him into a table full of champagne glasses. The crash was spectacular, and the footage was going to be even better. "Security!" someone shouted, but I held up my hands peacefully. "No need. I'm leaving voluntarily." I looked around the room at all the shocked faces, the phones recording, the social elite of Portland witnessing the complete destruction of Sabrina's carefully constructed image. "Oh, and Sabrina?" I called out as I headed for the exit. "Check your email. The divorce papers are being filed Monday morning. Don't worry about the prenup, though. Turns out we never actually signed one." I was joking about that part. Her face went from pale to green, because while she'd been cheating on me, I'd been liquidating assets, moving money, and consulting with the best divorce attorney in Maine. The prenup might have been a joke, but the financial protection I'd put in place over the past 3 weeks was very, very real. As I walked out of the country club for the last time, I heard Mrs. Ellis's voice rise above the murmur of shocked conversations. Well, I never. And to think I always thought that boy was such a nice, quiet young man. The joke about marrying me for money had finally gotten its punchline. Sabrina was about to discover that revenge, like comedy, is all about timing, and my timing was perfect. The end. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Write in the comments from which city you are watching,